Alright, something I should have mentioned in the last video is if you're not going to, if you're not pulling this out for any other reasons but replacing it, then don't worry about this because it won't be an issue as long as you plug up all the ports. So there's a port here, but I have a temperature sensor in there. You have your dipstick on the other side, and that's it for holes you should be plugging so the transmission fluid doesn't come out. If you're going to be doing the repairs, obviously drain the transmission, get all the fluid out, so that way you don't make a big mess later on. And it's a lot easier that way too. So what you're going to end up doing next is, let me get around to the other side. Don't forget about this harness here. It's actually held in with a nut. Let's find the right size nut or socket for that nut. Anyway, so what you're gonna do is you have a transmission line here. This nut here is a 1-inch. This nut here, sorry about that. There we go. This one is a 1-inch. This one is a 3/8. So put those on there. Unscrew this one. Make sure you have a catch underneath. And then you can't really see it because it's going into this plastic bottle. This is my drip bottle. Same thing here, same size. What I did do is I took my air compressor and I cut a hole, same size as the tube here. I cut a hole in the side of this bottle. This bottle's intact except from that hole. Let's just make that clear. Just cut a hole in there, stick the tube in there, and then the bottle will just kind of, between these two transmission lines and the transmission, it'll hold itself here. I like this one because it has the flip lid on there. You just pop it closed. But what I did is I wanted to clean out the cooler and everything else up ahead. So what I did is I took my compressor with an air nozzle on the end, and I took this line, I pulled it off, pulled it down a little bit, and I jammed my nozzle in there. It works best if you have one of the rubber tips on your air nozzle, so you get a good seal on there. Put it on there, and then just let it go to town. And what that did is that forced all the ATF out of the line and backflushed it. So if there is anything in the transmission not the transmission, in the transmission cooler, anything like that, it's gonna backflush it and make it go the opposite direction. It'll help it'll unclog it easier than trying to go in the same direction it's constantly going. So I put this up here because I tried it before and it just made a huge mess. It just sprayed everywhere. So that was 2 seconds of shit spraying everywhere. So I put this on here and I took my bucket and I put my bucket underneath here with a transmission transmission funnel to raise it up higher to get it right underneath this bottle, and just let that run and run and run until there was hardly anything coming out of the transmission lines anymore. Then I went on to this part, which was a pain in the ass for me. There is a access panel here. Let me try and get the camera up in there. For the flywheel, I know it's dark, you probably can't see anything, but that is what you see right there in the camera. That is one of the bolts that come off the torque converter that go through the flex plate. There's going to be 6, as long as you don't have an upgraded one or anything like that. There is 6 bolts that connect the torque converter to the flex plate. Sorry, I'm stumbling a little bit on my words today. There's going to be 6 bolts that connect the torque converter to the flex plate, and you're just going to go around and pull all those off. Now, there is another port that you can use. It's going to be, let me follow you up here. You're going to come around this way. Alright, you're going to go up. Here's the manifold, driver's side manifold. And it's going to be just like that one. There's going to be a little port. I don't know if you can see that or not. There'll be a little port here. Same thing. It's a little rubber access panel that pulls off. And this is if you have the front end torn apart, you can get a bunch of extensions back through here, and you do the bolts through here. Granted, that would be a hell of a lot easier than doing it through this tight space, but I don't have the front of my truck torn apart. That'd be a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of new fluids, and just I don't want to deal with that shit. So I need to put that cover back on, and technically you can use that if you can get the socket, get a ratchet in there, and which you can, but it was just easier for me to do it this way, personally. I mean, it's personal preference if you want to do it this way or that way, but this way worked for me. It is a 9/16 nut that is on there. Now, the issue I was having was my 9/16, which I have some old ones, I have some new ones, I have some brand new ones I've never used. I went through all three of them. I tried the brand new ones. They weren't working. They just kept rounding the bolt. I couldn't figure out why. So I was getting to the point where I was pissed off and said, fuck it. And I went down to Lowe's and I picked up this extractor kit. This was on sale for $9.99. With tax, it came to $10.35. And that's the one that's missing is the one that I used, the 9/16 rounded bolt extractor. This worked beautiful. You don't even know how easy it was. I spent hours fighting with this. But what you're going to want to do, I would just recommend just going out and getting this. I had some. I didn't have the right one. I was missing the one I needed, of course. So I would just recommend going out and getting this just in case. It's better to have it than not to have it. Now I have it. And if I don't ever need it again, cool. At least it did the job that I needed to do. And I didn't have to take it to the shop and have it towed there to have them take off this damn transmission, which I do not want to do. I don't want to waste the money when I can do it myself. So I would recommend just going ahead and getting a set of these. This is SAE. Alright, 9/16. I would suggest getting both SAE and metric. Because, I say that, because after I got all of those removed, I ended up needing them for the bolts going into the bell housing that connect the bell housing to the motor. Okay, I ended up having two stripped ones, and I was lucky enough that I was actually able to use that same one. I got lucky. I was able to use that same socket to remove these bolts. I don't know if you can see that or not. Come on, focus. It doesn't want to focus on it. But just take my word for it. The head of it got stripped up. Why? It's fucking beyond me. Oh, here's another one. You see how shiny that one is, kind of. But so that ended up working for me. Oh, sorry. No, it was a 1/2 inch. It was the 1/2 inch socket broken stripped head removal tool. So, like I was saying, though, what you're going to want to do, what worked for me, was once you get your socket on that bolt, you're going to take your flathead and you're just going to jam it right here into the side. So that way when you wrench on it, this will turn. Your transmission, your flex plate, all that will turn because of the torque you're putting on it. It's going to spin. So put this here, get the socket against it, and break it loose. And then once you break that, break it loose, then you can remove that and you can ratchet it off. And just do that repeatedly for all 6. Now, once you unplug everything, the truck will not start. The sensors are not plugged in, so it's going to think there's something going on. It will not let the truck start. So what you're going to do, what I did, is I reached up in here, make sure you touch nothing else but these 2 points here on... I got some water dripped on me. Make sure you touch nothing but these 2 points here, this point here, and the other one adjacent to it. Not this little one, but the one to the right of it. Touch nothing else but those 2. If you touch here or here when you're touching those, which I made the mistake accidentally a couple times because it happens, but it will spark and eat up your flathead. But just touch those two prongs together momentarily just to get the starter to spin the flex plate so you can get access to the next bolt in line. And just do that until each one has been taken off. After you do that, put something up underneath. I just kind of have this just slightly raised up on the transfer case. I need to move it here in a minute and actually put it here and strap it. Make sure you're not, when you strap it, you're not putting any a strap over any connectors or wire harnesses or anything like that over top. So make sure everything is clear before you do tighten it down to whatever you're going to use to lower this down with. And then, like I said, after that, you're just going to remove these bolts. I have some of them taken off already. I have one here, 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 and then one more up here. The manual says there are 9 bolts. We'll see. I will get back to you on that as soon as I remove everything. And then after that, I actually need to remove this piece here, the support bracket. After I remove that, then I can finish taking off the bolts on here. And then once I'm done with this and I get this lowered down, I will come with the next part of this video and show you what to do next.